Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Yes, absolutely. Welcome to the JC Christmas show. And today we are in Asia. Yesterday we flew out with our plane and we are here landed in Melbourne, Australia. Yes, absolutely Australia. So that means that we are in another continent. And as you can see, my hat still lays in the Americas of yesterday. And what will happen if I'm tomorrow in Africa? I have no idea. But one thing I'm sure of is that you're watching, and I would say thank you very much for being here. Anyway, today we are going to talk about how is Christmas celebrated in Asia and all this kind of strange, maybe for us strange, but maybe for them normal situations. And that's why I have an important guest here today. But later on, stay on for all the people who are actually watching live. There will be also prizes to win. Again, like yesterday, we had three big prizes to win. A logo, a presentation, and even a beer tour. What the hell was that? What was amazing. But today, it will be not different. So please watch and see, because we have here a special guest, and the special guest is especially from Australia. I would say big hands up for Sam Gibb. Welcome, Sam, in the show.
Thank you, Peter. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Hey, Sam, can you just introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I'm a proud member of JCI Eastern, based here in Melbourne, Australia. I'm the immediate past national president of JCI Australia and have served on the national board for the last 5 years.
Wow. And what you're doing this year? For example, I see that you in 2019 were the national president. So what did you do in 2020?
I'd like to say having a bit of a break, but as you'd know, that the year's been quite an extraordinary one. But no, this year just really helping with the national organisation, supporting our national president, Kieran McCormack, as much as I can, and just helping the local organisations run events, be active as they can be in the community.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's be honest, Sam. I think a president's year or any president's year, or maybe any year, very active in JCI, because you as members also understand it's kind of virus, maybe even a pandemic, but a good pandemic virus. That once you're into it, you want to do more and more and more. And sometimes you need a break. Sometimes you say, "Oh, it's time for me." And don't worry, you're not the only one who needs a break. I took also a break, and I came back after full of energy. So it's absolutely normal. But hey, I'm glad that you took in your break time for being here. Anyway, I ask you for a special reason. And first, I want to mention also Vice President of 2020, Mark Schmidt, for actually connecting us. He's my mentor in the JCI Europe mentoring program, who helps actually local chapters to grow. So if you're from JCI Europe, for example, this could be a good idea to check that program. Voila, but let's talk about Christmas, because this is a Christmas show. And of course, I ask you also, like all the other guests in the Americas and Europe, how is Christmas celebrated in your country? And please, the people who are watching right now, say where you're coming from and maybe explain what do you do for Christmas. So now to you, Sam. All these names.
Thanks, Peter. Now, look, in Australia, it's quite diverse in what we do, but given how large Australia is, there's a lot of travel always involved. I think it becomes part of the Christmas plan is planning your travel, and whether that's interstate or just a couple of hours drive, that becomes a big part of it. So for me, for instance, I'm based here in Melbourne, but I make a journey out to where I grew up, a couple of hours outside of Melbourne, and travel down there. Typically about Christmas Eve. If I can get away from work a little bit earlier, might be a few days earlier. But once I'm down there, it's all about relaxing, spending time with family. So yeah, Christmas Eve is pretty quiet, and then Christmas Day, typically, I see most Australians would probably do a big Christmas lunch or a Christmas dinner. So we did a Christmas lunch and dinner. And just did our traditional barbecue. So we just put some sausages and some steaks and everything just onto a barbie and just had that for dinner. And then that was about it. It was nice and quiet and relaxed.
Okay. I have a question for you because in the last sessions in Europe and the Americas, we saw that, for example, for some, Christmas Eve was the most important moment, and for other ones, for example, was Christmas Day morning the most important, of Christmas Day in general. What is it specifically in Australia?
Yeah, look, going back to, I think it definitely is the Christmas day. The evening is a little bit more quiet. Well, definitely in my family's household. You might put on the carols that will be playing on the TV. I mean, if obviously COVID wasn't around, we'd probably be going and seeing live carols being played. But it for Australians, I believe that the Christmas day is probably a bigger event. And not so much, I haven't heard too many who do breakfast, but definitely lunches and dinners.
Okay. So breakfast and dinners. Well, actually, it's when I can, after 3 shows, I can already say there is actually one big pattern in all these Christmas things. It's food, 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 food. It
Here's the
everybody
thing,
eats full, belly full, and I think we need that week between Christmas and New Year to digest. Anyway, yeah, talking about foods. So you talk about barbecue, but is there some kind of really special tradition where you come from? Because maybe Australia is a big country, and you're from Melbourne, but there are also people on the other side living in Perth or maybe in Brisbane at the other side. Is there a difference, or is it all the same food-wise, or is that you still have that difference?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I think that comes up. A question comes up all the time is like, what's I guess the Australian food, and especially around Christmas, I couldn't put my finger on anything specific. It's more the activity. So the activity of actually having a barbecue and sitting around with friends, maybe a few drinks in hand, and yeah, cooking up that barbecue. So it's the act of it that's probably important rather than the food that you're eating. But for me, and then once again, the family is more specifically like sausages definitely go on the barbecue. Yeah, you put lamb chops, lamb and pork is a fairly big dish, but yeah, I couldn't put my finger on any specific cuisine per se for Christmas.
Okay, no problem. But there is one thing actually that is very specific Christmas in Australia that is kind of unique because every year we get here. I'm from Belgium here, so half north of Europe. We get this. I will share it to you. Some pictures. Maybe you can give some comments on that if that's really true or is just to make us jealous. So you have actually pictures of people at Christmas, but then on the beach with sun. Is that real life or is that just all set up?
I think it might be a little bit set up, but it's an interesting point because I see you're pretty rugged up, and
Yeah.
some of your other guests have been quite rugged up. But for us in Australia, it's in the middle of summer, so it's actually quite
Exactly.
warm. It can get very hot. So being at the beach is definitely a big part if you can get there. It's a little bit far for me, but yeah, I don't think I'd be dressing up in quite this attire if I was going to the beach when it's 40 degrees or so.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why we understand now why you do barbecues because barbecues are outside.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
well, lately with COVID, we had actually somebody who did it inside in a garage illegal, but that's not a good idea
No.
because because I had to go to the hospital. But that's of course lockdown stories. Anyway, indeed, for you it's summertime. Eh? We are at the southern. How you say the hemisphere? Is that right?
Yeah, southern
Southern.
hemisphere. Yeah.
Yeah, southern hemisphere. So in a way, there's never been snow there in your image of
Very, very rarely, and definitely not around Christmas time. Maybe June, July, you might get it at the very higher points in Melbourne, but very rare, very rare.
yeah. Well, voila. But yeah, Australia is also known as a country that is actually in a very Asian environment. I think that you have on the other side, you have the Philippines, you have there India. Yeah, I'm a bit curious as a non-Asian then to know how do they is Christmas also celebrated there, or is it something else? do you know? Maybe you can share something about your knowledge.
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously, being in Australia and like we're close to the Asian countries, but not quite entrenched in that culture. But I did reach out to a few of my JCI friends from around the Asia Pacific region, and the feedback I got was similar to us. It's fairly diverse, depending on the family circumstances, the cultural backgrounds, the religious beliefs. It really dictates or determines how you're going to be celebrating that. But the one big common theme, as you mentioned, is food, food and being around family and friends. And hopefully, I do hope that most people around the world have been able to celebrate with their family and some friends. But yeah, so I mean, it really does come down to the cultural backgrounds on how they're going to be celebrating.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, and talking about, of course, you're Australia, and then you have actually the whole Asian region, and united as JCI Asian Pacific. Is that right? Or correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that's right. So I think there's about 22 countries in the Asia Pacific region, and so obviously as far north as high end of Japan, all the way down to the low points of New Zealand. So it does, I guess, vary a very great distance. And obviously within the Asia Pacific region, I think there's about 2/3 of the JCI members are in the Asia Pacific region. So very big community there.
Yeah, absolutely, a gigantic community. And as I heard, it's sometimes also experienced in different ways. Yeah? I think in Japan, JCI is more kind of elite organization. Is that right?
A very professional
Very
focused
professional,
organization,
yes.
definitely.
Yeah. While Australia, maybe it will be more for everybody, common.
Yeah,
Like
it's
here in
interesting
Belgium.
how it gets split up, because what I do find, definitely with the Australian local organisations, we are very community minded, but there will be some local organisations that are a little bit more focused towards that professional and personal development, and then there will be ones that are a little bit more tailored or focused on community impact and grassroots projects. But in all, we have a huge focus on the community side within JCI Australia.
Wow. So you see, actually, and that makes it already, I think, very interesting if you go for a regional congress. It's called ASPAC, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And next year it will be in?
I think it's Taichung in Taiwan, I believe.
Yeah, I
Hopefully I've
thought
got
so
it
too.
right.
Indeed, Taiwan. Indeed. And if you come there, because for people who never been on such a regional congress, what do you see?
Well, for me personally, actually, I went to Taichung in 2019 for the National President's Meeting, and I spent a whole, I think, about 36 hours in the country. So I flew into the night, did the meeting, and then flew out. And so if I go back there, I'm hopefully going to explore a lot more of the Taiwanese culture and get to meet some of the members. But definitely, the exciting thing, and I admittedly I've only been to Asia Pacific conferences, but the different cultures and the different personalities is just amazing. I guess that's what brings us all together in any of these conferences.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing, maybe because this year we had to compensate mostly online, and if we can travel again, maybe we can actually go to other regional conferences. I think now, maybe the next year, maybe the year after, I think it's always interesting to go to to discover, because I think that's. So you said that you only went to regional ones.
Yeah, look, I haven't. I definitely wanted to go to actually Panama, which obviously is going to be again next year, being cancelled. That was one that was put on my to-do list.
Yeah.
I think Ireland was Europe last year, and this year
Absolutely,
was
yeah.
cancelled. So there's definitely a few on my list to go to. I just haven't had a chance. So I've gone to a couple of to the Asia Pacific conferences and a couple of world congresses, but never to another area conference.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you went to last year's night in Tallinn.
Yeah, Tallinn, that was beautiful. Yeah,
voila. I think that the diversity that you experience there, and if you member are watching, maybe you haven't been in any international congress. Well, I've been in a couple of them, and Sam for sure, many of them. And if you like the interaction, though we are now interacting online, but we could actually done this, of course, also straight away in World Congress in Tallinn, and that makes it very interesting because you connect with other cultures, other people that perhaps you will never see in your life if you weren't in JCI, but they are so close. Absolutely,
Absolutely. I think the if you don't mind me saying, the international aspect of JCI is just phenomenal. Like the fact that you brought up before that we really got in contact through Mark, who I met in Japan 2 years ago. It's just incredible to think that we're so connected yet so geographically apart. So no, it's an exciting aspect of JCI.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're a new member or you don't know Mark Smith, well, actually, he's from England. So he's Europe, England. So Great Britain. No, it will be England, I think, right?
Yes, England.
Yeah, because otherwise the Scots will kill me. Maybe that's a joke, my dear Scottish friends. So that's not true. Anyway, it's true. The international connection aspect is very important. And that makes us as organization. And if you ever doubt and you're in a conversation with somebody who says, yeah, why should I join JCI? Well, I think in all of us there is a little sparkle to actually discover the world, to discover new cultures, new places. Our generation is even has more opportunities to connect than any generation before, thanks to the social media. Before I had a talk with somebody who was in the 90s, and they had to call. Yeah, really expensive calls. If they want to fake it, instead of social media, they were constantly calling to each other.
Yeah, it's a different
locally,
world.
nationally, internationally, they were calling or sending letters or whatever. So you can imagine what kind of evolution in communication and actually a proximity that we are having right now today. Because if we had to set up this meeting, maybe I had to start calling already 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
we just did it. We just had contact last week for the first time. So yeah, the speed of communication makes us indeed that internationalism in JCI, in the organization, makes it, I think, unique. That is really the key. So don't forget that if you try to approach new members, and of course we need energetic members just like you. Okay, well, of course, Christmas food, but Australia 2020. And we know that also for JCI Australia, because at this moment there was something going on, isn't it, Sam? Last year. Well, wait, I will help you a bit because of course, it's about the projects that you're going to present. Because last year, I think around this Christmas time, unfortunately, we heard or we saw. Well, I wouldn't say big barbecues, but let's say very wildfires around with devastating consequences. And also here I made a donation because I know that at that moment JCI Australia really did something. And Sam, I asked you to actually highlight a project, and can you actually explain it? I will show it to the people.
Yeah, absolutely, Peter. Look, I mean, many countries, many communities have done it really tough this year, and Australia particularly took, I guess, the big part of the year in recovering. So early, probably late 2019 and moving into early 2020, we were in our bushfire season, and this year was particularly devastating. I've got some statistics here, so I've written them down so I don't get them wrong, but it's kind of colloquially termed Black Summer, where we've got 18.6 million hectares were burnt with these fires that scaled across Australia. I think there's about 34 people killed directly in this. And you think about that, that's 34 people, their families, their communities. It's just devastating. And another big aspect to this is the, I guess, the toll it takes on the wildlife. And it's been estimated upwards of 1 billion animals have either died or been misplaced during these bushfires. And in Australia, we do have many bushfires throughout the years, and we understand the risks, and we're pretty good at managing it. But yeah, this one was just particularly dangerous. And so JCI Australia early in the year jumped straight into action. And I remember speaking with our national president, Kieran McCormack. And initially, we're kind of going through the planning and thinking, okay, well, how's the year's going to unfold? And when this started to happen, Kieran just basically said, look, we have to do something about this. So what we ended up doing is actually setting up two separate, I guess, My Cause campaigns, and gave, I guess, people an opportunity not only to support the community through us, but in two different ways. And the first one you've got up here is specifically to Red Cross. As you can see there, we've raised about $9,000, which will go to the Red Cross. And then there's the second campaign that ran in parallel to that, and that's actually for WIRES. And once again, it's a long acronym here. It's the Wildlife Information, Rescue, Care and Education Services Group. And I think it's another $9,000 has been raised for that particular cause, and that's specifically focused on wildlife and getting them back into the wild and recovery and caring for the animals that have been injured during that process. And I guess the reason I've focused on this one is not only was such a devastating thing for JCI, for Australians in general, but it was just how far the news got around. And as you were going through there was lists of people from all over the world who are donating small amounts or large amounts. That you can actually see there's actually groups of the Springfield Jaycees right there. The actual feedback from the JCI community was just overwhelming. There you go. We've got Vice President Glenn there as well, who's donated. But we're also actually getting checks in the mail being sent from all over the world. We had there's amazing things being run. There was a music or a song that was put together, and the monies raised from that were going towards this cause. And the support from JCI, the JCI community, but the international community was just fantastic. So this is definitely very dear to JCI Australia and our community. And actually, you said you donated, so thank you very much for that. That's fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, well, actually, indeed, it's the perfect moment to thank everybody whose name is here, because I'm very surprised that that so many people from I recognize people from Belgium, as you can see, but also people from Africa.
Is actually my academy buddy, so I think you can go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's all over the world, and just connecting back to what you said before, the international network. And ladies and gentlemen, dear members, you see that's because we are all internationally connected. They could raise almost $10,000. So that is something that makes us strong. That makes us effective, and that makes us that we can support JCI Australia if they're in need. Because if you are in need and you set up something like this, they will your international network will also come to help you, and that makes it strong because we care about each other. I see also Estonia, Holland, the Netherlands. Yeah, I think. Yeah, here again, Belgium. Voila.
I think from a quick calculation, there was around about 300 individual donations, and whether they were from groups or from individuals, that's just amazing how far that reach went.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Thank you all very much for being there, and we can continue. I think for another hour, but it's really amazing, and. Of course, people donated, and then we've seen that wildfires finally could could be stopped. But then, of course, the big work starts only. Yeah. It's actually recovery, and here in this side, we don't, of course, when something bad happens, we hear a lot of information, but about recovery, that is not the big news anymore. But maybe Sam, and for the people who actually donated, maybe you can actually explain a little bit what was done with the money, or in which way Australia could recover the effects of the wildfire and wildlife.
Look, you touched on a really important point there, Peter, where the initial shock and horror of the situation gets the world's attention. And so, like, we were one of many organisations raising funds to support those communities in those areas. But what happens is it dies away, and then the noise of everyday life, and then obviously COVID-19 kind of takes people's minds away from this. But one thing we have to remember is, while we're all coping with this pandemic, at the same time, these communities are trying to recover. They've got no homes, they've got lost loved ones. People, like, farming is a big thing in Australia. They've lost their livelihood. And so the effects of this is just going to go on for years. And so that's where our funds are hopefully going to come into play a little bit more. It's not from the initial immediate support. It's going to be that ongoing support and care for, once again, nursing animals back to life. I saw some great footage recently of some of the koalas being released back into trees after being cared for. But it's, also Red Cross and going to those families in dire need of just a bit of financial support and services. So that's where that money is going to be going.
Okay. And look, as actually Marit could read my mind, she asked the same question: how is the country recovering from those fires? Indeed, Marit is, by the way, Belgium, and it was almost in every show, and that makes us the top fan of this Jaycee Christmas show. Thank you very much, Marit. Keep on going. By the way, Marit,
that's fantastic.
Very promising member. Did recently an online webinar about sustainable talks, how we can actually put sustainability in our own daily lives. That means actually avoiding using shampoos, but using soap, etc. Very simple things that can, if you do it all together, have an impact. And that, of course, is an impact. Okay. Well, Sam, thank you very much. I don't know if I see other questions, even in the private chat. No, we have Paul waiting, because Paul is again eager to give away a beautiful prize. But don't forget that is after this beautiful moment. Why? Because, as you know, 2020 started kind of crazy, certainly for Australia, and it didn't stop there. It went,
No.
To say it simple, super crazy. Yeah, unexpected. Also lockdowns. And we as Jaycees have to reinvent themselves sometimes. I don't know if this was a lockdown in JCI Australia, like a really hard one. We had one in Belgium the 13th of March, and we couldn't do anything anymore. Was it the same in Australia?
Yeah, look, it's I think ours was maybe a little bit later. It might have been the start of April where we went into fairly significant lockdown. Yeah. And the different states and territories of Australia responded differently to this. Being here in Melbourne, Victoria, we went into a very strong lockdown for a few months. I think went into about June. We started to relax those restrictions, and a few weeks later went down into an even harder lockdown, which we stayed in place for many months after that. So the lockdowns or the restrictions themselves were to the point where there was just no kind of going outside unless it was they highlighted 4 particular reasons, and whether that was to receive medical care or to get food. But if you were going out, you're only going out by yourself. It was only for a certain amount of time. So yeah, the lockdowns were pretty strong here.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't forget, I think everybody of us, all members, we had to evaluate the situation. we had to think about, okay, what we are going to do now. We can't meet anymore. And most of us were not that tech savvy yet to go into directly into Zoom. We had to discover what could we use, and some said, okay, I have to take off my family. I can't do JCI at the moment, which is completely okay. That's completely okay. Some just sat and was standstill because, of course, nobody of us of our generation experienced something like this before. And other people actually just started to see the opportunities and went into action. And all of the three kind of JC reactions are okay because it's perfectly human. I think everybody is human, and maybe also in Australia you saw some jumping up with project, other chapters a bit going down, waiting what will happen. It's normal. It's normal, and that's why we have actually this moment because COVID-19 made like around 1 million deadly victims. And certainly it came now in the second wave more close and close by than ever before. So it's very reasonable that you, as JCI member, are affected by it. That maybe a relative had died, or maybe you know somebody closely who actually suffered, or even recovered, but that still has to do a whole a trajectory to get back where they were. And also, maybe you had doubts, and maybe you had doubts about yourself, about your future, your job. It's all possible, and that's okay. And that's why we have a little moment here to reflect on these difficult moments, because we care about community, and we care about these bushfires and wildfires or whatever. But in the first place, we have to also take care about ourselves, our mental and physical care, because if we are not okay, we can't do anything. We can't create impact. And that's why I chose a song, because we are in Asia, and that's a kind of the Buddhism, the Rex, the Zen, the origins of these beautiful reflection music. And I will now give you some time to reflect, especially for you. Do you hear something, Sam?
I can't hear anything at the moment, Peter.
Okay, I'm trying to connect. Okay, sorry, it's a technique, first time. Try to get into the moment. Wait. Okay. Okay. Try again, last time. There it is. Okay. Do you hear something? Tell me now if you hear something, Sam.
I'm still waiting.
Now?
Yes.
Okay, okay. I leave you. We go out, reflect, and think about the difficult moments. Well, here we are again. And I hope you could relax, reflect. Anyway, yeah, it's always a good thing to reflect about what happened, how you are at the moment, and what will actually the future will bring, and certainly at the end of the year. Anyway, I got a little surprise for you. I got actually here a little remark from your friend, Mark. And as we know, Mark is also somebody who is actually doing community work and is very attached by social works. So yeah. So, but he says hi to you. Anyway, let's go for prices. And yeah, if I talk about prices and the people who were yesterday at the Americas, and the people who liked also Peter Love's JCI page, know that there is one specific donator of the prize who actually is, let's say, want to share with everybody or to give everybody a moment. And that person I'm going to bring in right now. He's straight from small little Belgium, but he's big in his mind, so it doesn't matter. I will bring you Paul Neville. Welcome, Paul.
Unmute. Yes, welcome. Hi.
Hey, Paul. Can you just introduce yourself as a member and what is your business?
Yes, so my name is Paul Navot. I'm from JCI in Belgium. I'm the immediate past president of JCI Antwerp. So this year, like Sam said, is maybe a little bit more quiet, but it's not really true, as it always goes, of course. And because I'm almost at the end of my JCI career, so I took on another project. And so that's the second thing in my name is I'm also the communications director of the European conference in Bruges in 2022. So you were talking earlier about the area conferences, which are an amazing thing. And for Europe, not the coming one. The coming one, everybody first go to Rostock in Germany to their conference. But after that, we're having an amazing conference in 2022 in Bruges, all around food for generations. And how we can work towards a better future for food on the planet, dealing with hunger and things like that. That will be the team. So that's my JCI, some of my JCI career, and professionally, I help with companies with their presentations. And shall I immediately say what the price is also, or?
Yeah, you can say what the price is. No problem.
So, for instance, I help companies with the presentations, which these days happens also online. So you can see I have some information in my feed, which I can help people get. And there's even more. I can really navigate through information online. And what I'm offering as a prize to the person who wins this prize is that if we look at how I make a presentation work, I will go with this person through my 3-step program, which is I will look at a presentation of this person, how to touch their audience with the story, how to attract visually with slides, for instance, in this way, and the powerful delivery, and of course, how all these things interact. And that's what I will, that's the coaching assistance that the winner of the prize will get from me. I said yesterday, at least half a day, but I'm just going to be there, make sure it works, whatever it takes.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Paul. And I see that you did some improvements from yesterday, and that's all JCI all about, improve yourself. As I improved also my head.
Yeah, your hair looks a lot better now.
Yeah. Well, I didn't, here it's morning, so I woke up like this.
Well, there's anyway. No barbers, like all the hairdressers are closed since what?
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, Sam, help us, save us. No hairdressers are open and they can't work.
In Belgium, it's not, so that's why I'm stuck with hair that is a bit wild.
Yeah. So actually, in the next 3 months, because I speak about lockdown for the next 3 months, I think we all will look like hippies.
Yes,
why not? That was love and peace. I think after COVID, we need that love and peace. Anyway, Paul, So you're actually going to give a presentation to one of our viewers. And of course, it's a game. That means actually there is a question and a right answer. And the first who gets the answer right wins the prize. I think it's that simple. We don't make it difficult here. And of course, Sam, I asked you if you had, like, for example, a question, something that you mentioned during this show already, or maybe something that people should know. Do you have your question ready?
Admittedly, I don't, but I do have a question that I can probably ask, but it's going to be a difficult one. So I mentioned how many national organizations were in the Asia Pacific region.
Oh, okay. But I will actually, for example, somebody just tuned in. Maybe I give actually a hint. You can actually give as many answers as you want. Of course, it's only one prize. So I hope you're ready.
How many organizations were in the Asia Pacific region?
I think that somebody has a speaker on. And delay. Anyway, don't worry. So the question is, let's go, Sam, and then I say yes, and then the first one who actually in the comments on Facebook or YouTube gets the right number gets the prize by Paul Presents. Okay, Sam, ask the question again.
How many national organizations are in the Asia Pacific region?
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Well, yesterday the question was how many states were there in America, the United States of America. So hey, it was a lot of counting, huh? But maybe this time you don't have to count that much. So we will see if there are actually some people awake. Or maybe some people are not yet to sleep in Asia because at what time is it your? What time are you now, Sam?
It's 8:45 in the evening, so 8:45 p.m.
Yeah, well, it's and people are also going now watching television or something, or
yeah, it would be about that time.
or they are outside and just enjoying because maybe it will be outside till 25.
Bit of freedom, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. By the way, actually, I didn't say something, but do you know what's your best export product from Australia?
I'm going to go, I don't know the actual answer, but I'm going to go with something like coal or...
What?
Yeah,
coal?
coal.
No. Yeah, maybe yes, but it's not something that, for example, that if I was 10 years old, and like say 20 years ago, I would have seen that it was coming from Australia. What would it be?
This is like a question within a question.
No, if you watch television, that's a hint.
I'm not a big television watcher.
Maybe Paul, you know it?
Yeah, but the question is also, I mean, does Sam know what's on television in Europe about Australia? Of course, that's... I would say something like kangaroos or something, but that's not a real export product, of course.
Oh, you're talking about Skippy.
Yeah, it's not on television, yeah.
No, it's something else. It's no, it's
like neighbors or
no, it's no, it's neighbors. Neighbors. Or home away. Is that also Australia?
Home away. Yeah. Look, I must admit, I must be a bit of a bad show. I've actually never watched Home Away or Neighbours.
My God, I will tell you, this show run, I think, and it's still running, I think, at I don't know where from they are, but they it's neighbors, really. It's running. This show is here running for Let's Bold and the Beautiful. I think even started at that time. So I think running for more than 20, almost 30 years, I think. So
it's an eternal show, yeah.
But Home Away, that was really for the 90s. I remember that.
How are we going with that question there, Peter? Is it a bit too difficult?
I don't know. I'm putting here the question in the ticker. But I think we still have to wait for one person who's really awake. and still counting. But I want to say one thing is that this company here, you know what it is? This for which company? This my microphone and this thing.
No.
It's it's called Road or something.
Oh, Road. Yeah.
But how you pronounce it in Australian actually? That's
I just know it as Road.
Road. Okay, that's the right. Yeah, because I find it funny because you have that funny Australian E. Road. It's not E. Yeah, it's not. What is it? Oh, I don't know. My God, I'm going too far here. But ladies and gentlemen, this is intercultural exchange.
You're creating an international incident now, Peter.
Don't worry, I have the red line here. We'll fix that. No. So road. Okay, cool.
I think everybody's afraid to make a wrong guess on the question.
Yes. Okay.
But where's Marie? She was listening earlier. Why don't you make a guess, Marie? You're allowed to win the prize if you give an answer.
Yeah. Well, let's say that it's between. Maybe Sam, you can actually between two numbers.
It is between 20 and 25.
Oh my God, it's getting hot here. Maybe as hot as in Australia right now. Yeah. Anyway. Oops. Don't forget. Don't worry. If there is nobody reacting, hey, don't worry because then the prize will go to the rewatch. Yeah, we just take it with us, and then we will say, hey, ladies and gentlemen, at the moment we don't have any right answer. But if you're still rewatching this, don't worry. Paul Presents can still give you a present on this question. How many countries are in the JCI Asia Pacific? And the answer is between 20 and 25. And if you're the first one in the comments to say the right answer, well, Paul Presents will give you an awesome presentation that will rock you, your personal brand, or your local chapter. Voila. I think we do it like this.
You can go give a hint to someone, Sam. Like
I should
type.
Call your current president or something and be like, hey, you want to win something?
That's possible. That's possible, though. All these WhatsApp groups and chats and anyway, let's continue. Sam, do you know of any projects or things that JCI Australia or in Asia that things are going on for the next year that you're getting excited about?
Actually, I wouldn't mind highlighting one of the projects that were run this year in the Asia Pacific region, and I think that they're going to continue into 2021. That's it's called the SDG Pioneers program, and it was actually run by JCI Hong Kong. We had several of our local members getting involved, and the idea there is you had members all across the Asia Pacific region who then formed 17 teams, and those teams looked at the 17 Sustainable Development Goals and then worked on a project together. And this project ran over, it was probably ended up being about 6 months long, and it was meant to be presented at the Asia Pacific Area Conference. But obviously for particular reasons that didn't go ahead. But it was a really amazing project that really brought together the whole region. I got involved in the Team 5, which is around gender equality. So an area that I'm very interested in. And I had a really amazing team. We had a lady from Bangladesh and another lady from India, Philippines, and obviously ourselves and Australia. We've had somebody from Hong Kong, all participating and talking about these topics within the country. So we're talking about gender equality within each of those countries and how the perceptions changed significantly. And we ended up putting together a program or a project brief, which we presented. And just it was our focus was more on the support side of gender equality, but it could have gone many ways. We could have been looking at the preventative side of domestic violence in essence, though, the project that ran ended up having these amazing ideas that were generated from this process. But it wasn't just an idea from one country or one person. It was really a combination of such amazing input.
Can we say, Sam, that it was kind of organic?
Yeah,
naturally organic.
One, yeah, because there was a lot of organic conversation that came out of it. It wasn't, you weren't pressured, because the people who put their hand up to be involved in this project are passionate about the Sustainable Development Goals. So therefore, it was more just bringing like-minded people together to talk about the issues and then work towards a common goal of identifying how we could mitigate or address some of those issues. So yeah, no, look, it was a really good project.
Hey, do you have actually any link of that project so I can also show people back home? Because that could be a great inspiration for other continents, or maybe like say another way of organizing a project. Instead of the regular way, you just sit down with like-minded souls and have a common vision, a common goal to get something done, to have a certain impact together. And I think a lot of people, certainly now with this, still 2021, we have no idea what's coming on next year. We know vaccinations, congresses, yes, still organized, but we don't know in which way the lockdowns will go, the economy, etc., etc. So it could be, but we know that we as JCI members can still have impact. So please share that, but maybe this can help to keep on continuing, because we as organization, we also need to grow even in difficult times like now.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have it in front of me at the moment, but maybe I'll share that a little bit later. But the project name was the SDG Pioneers. The chairman from JCI Hong Kong was Terence Tang. So, but it was a very good project. I'll get those details out.
Okay. I think I have it. Let's see if I get the right one. Is it this project?
I think that's more of a group in support of the SDGs. I don't think that's the SDG Pioneer. Maybe there's not a page for it specifically. Okay. I thought there might be, but
okay, could help. Anyway, we don't find it right now, but don't worry. After we close this show, we're going to share it with you, so you can see anything, or you can actually watch it, discover it, and maybe get inspired. And
I think it's definitely a project that firstly can be run really well remotely, but as well as something that could be kind of copied and carried over to different areas, whether it is a whole area or whether it's a country who wants to do it within their local organizations. It's very clear guidelines on how it works.
To develop in something, indeed. Thank you very much, Sam, for sharing it. Okay. If you want to add something more, I think we actually can close this JC Christmas show. I think we knew everything about food, about Christmas celebrated, and we see a lot of differences. We had some projects, the amazing wildlife support, Australian bushfire support. Maybe one thing I want to share is that the JCI Together, is that mentioned?
I don't think I can end up touching on it, but basically JCI Together was another project that we ran throughout the year, which really started at the start of lockdown of COVID for the Australians. We, I guess, being a very, once again, geographically sparse, we're quite used to using video conferencing in our national board meetings. So it's something that we kind of transitioned pretty easily to. But this was a bit of it was a local organisation, JCI Brisbane, driving it with the support of us nationally. And what happened was we had a bit of a web series where we had about 15 presenters over many weeks presenting on different aspects of leadership and just being an active citizen. And what happened with this is it became a bit of a platform for people sharing from all over the world. So we had up to, I think, about 80 countries, and we have about over 2,000 members now involved in this group. So it was, once again, another project that really took advantage of the fact that we were in lockdown. We couldn't go and interact, by bringing some really amazing speakers that we might not normally have had the chance of listening to a platform where everyone around the world can listen to it. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that the JCI Together, that's going to be up and running and continuing to run into 2021. And it's supported by JCI Brisbane and JCI Australia.
Okay, and this is actually a showcase also, or a share case in this case, to unite your members also, no? Yeah, 2,200 members.
Just I guess that platform for people to just really express themselves and share things from just all over the world.
Wow. But all over the world, I see here people from Belgium, Germany, Mark. So
Mark showing up again.
Yeah, absolutely. Here, Ali from France. I think Laima from Poland. Laird from Scotland. Yeah, okay. It's a very international group. Wow. Amazing. Yeah. Absolutely. You see, even COVID brings us together in a way.
That's it.
So with this beautiful project, JCI Together, and if you want to find it, I think you just have to search it on Facebook. I want to thank 2019 National President of JCI Australia, Sam Gibb.
Thank you, Ben.
I want to thank Paul Naveau from JCI Antwerp, past president and communication director of EC Bruges 2022, for both of you of being here and sharing what you have. Because in JCI, I think internationalism, but also sharing knowledge, sharing experiences, work together. That makes it so much different than other organizations. And for you as member, maybe this year was not that easy. Maybe it was very easy. Maybe it was very successful. But one thing I know is that one time you can actually upload for yourself, because you do so much for the community, for organizations, for whatever you are involved. But sometimes we need to also reflect that you as a member are very, very, very valuable. And so from us, you get a big warm hug and, of course, a big round of applause, because you as member really are very valuable. And we like that you keep continuing, of course. But sometimes we can also say that our members of our organization are from gold, or maybe from rock or from platinum. I don't know. Call it what you want, but strong. But sometimes we need that pat on the back to say, yes, you're great. Because we are so involved in our projects that we sometimes forget to acknowledge that it's our human beings who are doing this, all this beautiful work. So thank you very much. And as for me, tomorrow I fly to Africa. I hope to find back my normal Christmas hat. Maybe Justin from JCI USA will send it in a FedEx plane. I don't know. But tomorrow we're going to Africa. And not only just Africa, we're going to South Africa. And what's happening in South Africa in 2021? Do you know that, Sam? Oh, or Paul knows too.
No, it's okay.
I would say just shout it, because these two gentlemen are already engaged, I think, or at least excited, because in 2021 in Johannesburg there will be the World Congress. And we don't have the National President 2020, Zandile, here in the show, but we also have, and she brought her actually important friends, first National President 2021 already, and the CUC director of this beautiful Congress too. So if you have questions about this beautiful Congress at the end of next year, and hopefully everybody got the vaccine, then we are actually celebrating in Africa, the south of Africa, hot temperatures, elephants, beautiful country, and a lot of dancing and movements. It's a warm-hearted country. So I think everybody here in this show is looking forward. But if you can't wait, don't wait too long, because tomorrow at 12 GMT +1, you will be there, and you can ask anything before you start booking what is about this Congress, why Africa is so vibrant, why is actually Africa is the new continent of the future. Who knows? All these questions we can all have. And again, to another continent. I leave you. I talk already too much today, but I know I like talking.
You can keep talking for a long time, Peter. That's fine.
Yeah. I do a private show with only one viewer, and that's myself. That's a good idea. Interacting with myself. Anyway, stop it here. Thank you very much. It's about you, the members. So thanks again, gentlemen, to be here. And tomorrow we're off to Africa. Bye.
Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Peter.